I would recommend that you have a podcast as the top of the funnel because it's going to grow your business. It's going to support you because you need people to know, like, and trust you. I'll say on that podcast, you need people to know, like, and trust you.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
Hey, podcaster, it's your host, Adam Adams, and I was scrolling through a Facebook group for podcasters. And why was I there? I'm looking for clients and I'm looking for guests. So here I am trying to see who it is who's asking for help, who it is who wants to be a guest. And I'm starting to maneuver through there. And this was just a few minutes ago. And once this ended up happening, I decided I needed to come to you and mention something that is thoughtful. And that this gentleman, trying to remember if his name is JJ or if I'm mixing him up with, I was on that scrolling through for a long time. Let's just pretend it was JJ. So that gentleman, he goes, I don't understand what's happening. I've been doing reels for, I don't remember the amount of time. Let's insert the word months. I don't know. But he goes, I've been doing reels for a long time. And they're getting between 1,000 and 3,000 views, but I don't understand. Again, I'm getting 1,000 to 3,000 views on my reels, but I don't understand. Why am I getting so few podcast listeners? And I think I was kind of feeling like an asshole or something. I think I was feeling like a jerk, like I wanted to prove a point or something. And I was frustrated. And it gave me some weird thing in my heart where I wanted to freaking scream at this guy. And I kind of did. And I basically said, it's because people don't go to Reels to find podcasts. People don't go to YouTube to find podcasts. People don't go to Facebook to find podcasts. And what I said to, we'll call him JJ. I can't remember if it was JJ or somebody else. What I said to him was, well, the reason why is because people don't go to Reels to find podcasts. I said it very matter of fact, and I felt like a jerk. When I did it, I said it, and then all of a sudden, like all of these podcast coaches are liking and thumbing up my response to this guy. And so I felt at least like, okay, that's good because the people that really know, they agree that people don't go to Reels to find a podcast. So maybe I wasn't as mean or unthoughtful as I thought, but I did jump right into it. And like, I'm rolling my eyes and be like, bro, what are you thinking? You got to put your money into bringing people to the podcast, not growing a reel. It doesn't necessarily translate. It doesn't transfer over each and every time. There have been so many times that I go to Instagram, for example, and there's this guy that I really admire. I really respect. His name is Andrew Huberman. And Andrew constantly puts out good reels. Okay. I follow him on Insta. And sometimes I'll watch him on YouTube, but I am technically subscribed to his podcast. I don't know that I've ever listened to his podcast through the podcast playing platform. And that's because I don't go to Instagram to find a freaking podcast. And I'm scrolling through and I'm getting reels and I'm liking his stuff and then I follow him. It doesn't mean he gained a subscriber. And same thing, I've had clients, probably 2 or 3 clients. 2 are women. I remember the conversations very, very distinctly. And they said, I don't understand my podcast. Let's just say 3,000 downloads per month, but my Instagram is still only getting 5 to 10 likes per post. And they're like, something's going on. And I want to say, same thing as I said to, we'll call him JJ. It's because people don't go to podcasts to find people to follow on social. Yes, they might. A certain percentages of them might. Some of the people that see me on Insta or LinkedIn might find my podcast. But if we want to really grow a podcast, there's 2 things to do. So get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams. Now get ready to take notes. There's 2 things that you could do. One of them is to guest on other people's podcasts. Why? Because 100% of the listeners of that podcast listen to podcasts. 100% of the listeners of that podcast in your genre are interested in your genre. It's really easy if you're being on somebody else's podcast to have a call to action that says, check out my podcast. If you would like another free resource in this area, if you're doing life coaching, then you would say, I coach coaches. And if you want to become a life coach, this is a good podcast. And I've got a free one as well. go over here. Or if you're liking what this is about entrepreneurship, I would recommend, this is what Adam says often, I would recommend that you have a podcast as the top of the funnel because it's going to grow your business. It's going to support you because you need people to know, like, and trust you. I'll say on that podcast, you need people to know, like, and trust you. Well, the podcast is how do they know you? So I'm hoping that you, the listener of that other person's show, is who I'm talking to right now. I'm being interviewed. Remember, in this scenario, I'm being interviewed. I say this all the time. I say, if that's what you're looking for, jump over to my podcast. It's called The Podcast on Podcasting. This is the value that we drop. I would like to see you there, especially if it can help you. And it's totally for free. Okay. That's a great place to do it. The next place, it costs more money than just being interviewed on somebody else's podcast. Okay. And that is to do advertising. So you can do advertising on Spotify. You can do advertising on Buzzsprout. My team does advertising with private messages where we personally invite the person, each and every person that fits your perfect avatar. We reach out to them on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Meetup.com. And as we start a conversation with them, we make it go to the place where we ask them if they've heard of your podcast. And then we bring it to them. So what I'm saying here is you want to do a couple of things. Go guest on other people's podcasts because people listen to podcasts that want podcasts. Secondarily, make sure that you are doing some type of paid marketing, paid ads, getting in front of that person time and time again in other ways. And sorry, I was starting to get distracted by a phone call coming in. That'll be a lesson for me and you to just put our phones away because I could tell that it was somebody that was important. And I was like, I need to answer that. So getting back to where we were before I started stuttering more is I want you to be on other people's podcasts. It's one of the biggest, best ways that you can grow your audience. And secondarily, I want you to find ways of doing paid ads because that investment could pay you dividends. For an example, we had a client, his name's Alex. Alex came to us and he said, I've been going with this big package with you and I've got this other guy helping me. My podcast has been costing me a couple $1,000s a month. Do you think I'm at a place where I could make money? And I was like, Alex, yeah, I'm looking at the numbers right now and you could make great money through your podcast. How much do you want to make? And he goes, it would be great if I could pay most of those expenses. I said, how much? And he goes, it's a little over $3,000 a month. Do you think that's even possible? I said, yeah, sit down with me. So Alex and I just sat down and we talked about him making money through his podcast. We talked about how many listeners he has because he was doing a package with us that we were doing some marketing. And now that package costs a little bit more. But anyway, we were doing that for him and he had plenty of listeners. So I spoke with Alex and I let him know, you're doing just fine. Let me coach you on who to talk to and how to talk to them. So we did that. He went and talked to one person one time. He had literally one phone call and he got $5,000 a month. And he had another phone call just a couple days later. And he called me and he says, I'm making $10,000 a month through my podcast. Thank you so much. Because he went from a place of not knowing that he had that ability. He went from a place of thinking that this was an expense and it became more of an investment that paid him dividends. Think about that. A, I want you to go out and get on other people's shows. B, I want you to find a way to put out paid marketing. We would love to help you with that if it's within your budget. If not, reach out to me, give me a call, and I'll share with you a few things that you could do without having to hire us. Awesome. I'll see you on the next episode. Oh, hey, because 3 of my clients came to me recently looking to find a way to have their podcast make them money instead of cost them money. We put together a resource for some of our clients, and I want to give it to you as well. It's something that did actually seem to help because one of them is now making $2,600 a month. Another one's $4,500 a month. And the third is making between $5,000 and $10,000 each month. And so it's been a resource that's been incredibly valuable to them. It's our sponsor sheet template. It's a template of a sponsor sheet, and it gives you something that you can hand to potential sponsors and hopefully also be making $2,600, $4,500, or between $5,000 and $10,000 regularly each month with your podcast. So this has been a contributing factor to helping all 3 of those clients turn their podcast into an additional income stream for them. And the way that you can find it is just going to our website, growyourshow.com, but put in /templates, growyourshow.com/templates. And then you can actually download that template and others that could be valuable to your podcasting experience. I'll see you on the next episode.